think one of the most memorable things that happened for me during the split was our first game against CLG.
The upgrade was hex score, and then recalled again.
Oh, man!
I refuse to credit High for this play. But there's no way High was like, yo, Jensen, body these guys 1v2, and we good.
That's kind of like where I feel like a lot of hype around me started. Well, it's kind of silly, but it's just like a signature about me now.
In just a couple weeks, the high-stakes World of the North American LCS is hitting the road and heading to Vegas. Tickets are still available to see your favorite pros battle it out at the Mandalay Bay Event Center April 16th, so head to lolesports.com to reserve your seats. But now we're going to return to the match at hand, Game 2 between TSM and Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 took a decisive win in Game 1, so TSM headed in Game 2. Obviously, they're looking to take it. Teams are swapping sides.
Yep.
Down the line, I want to hear what TSM needs to do to walk away with Game 2. Freak?
TSM need to focus more on Bjergsen doing well. 2-1 on Azir on a heavily losing team. He is still the best player on this squad, I think, and you have to understand that TSM need to resign themselves to a world where Rush out-jungles Sven Skaren. So Bjergsen needs a matchup where he can 1v1 without jungle help and actually create an advantage over Jensen. Keep him under his turret, get some damage, create pressure, because Sven's not going to have that impact. Find a 1v1 champion, use that.
Yeah, the hard thing is going to be that now that they're on blue side and that Cloud9 are on red, if Cloud9 want to, they can either go with a priority pick like Azir, and then you can counter it, or they can actually save that for last. So Cloud9 do have an option to avoid that matchup for Bjergsen, and that's what I'm looking at here is what is the pick and ban going to be like? I think that you drop a lot of those jungle bans. You don't ban Nidalee, you force Cloud9 to do that, so TSM might have their chance at a Nidalee, possibly a Kindred first pick.
Yeah, I was going to hit on the same point. Like, being on blue side now, after getting stomped so hard, it really limits what you need to do on blue side, because blue side's kind of the side where you get more priority pick focus, and we see that didn't work out last game, taking the Poppy and Azir early, so they really need to change something up. Hopefully, you know, Jensen takes his champ early, and maybe Bjergsen can get like a Zed counter pick or something like that if they take the Azir. You know?
That would be crazy exciting to watch. Or we could see the famed Jarvan mid against Azir. Saw it in the LCK, and it worked. We'll see if it happens here. But either way, both teams choosing that blue side, so they deem it very important. As we send it over to Riv and the gang for Game 2, Rush talks about his run of bad luck when it comes to playoffs.
Playoff means I always win first match, but finally lose the match. So it shouldn't happen this time. Like, I had some kind of jinx, like win first game, lose other games, like getting swept. But it should be fine this time.
Uh-oh.
Whoops! Won the first game.
Could be a tough one for these guys, but they look really good, and it's TSM that's going to have to step up.
Yeah, so TSM fans can have some small hope because Cloud9 did make that one big mistake early in the game. Yep. The thing is just that TSM made so many more mistakes later in the game, towards the mid game, being spread out, and Cloud9 really punished it.
I agree, and you also have to look back to the draft. You know, swapping the sides, how are the bans going to be different? You can criticize TSM's draft last game pretty heavily, and I still like what Cloud9 did, and I don't think Cloud9 has a reason to change up too heavily unless TSM forces them off champions.
We heard what the analyst desk had to say. We'll see what the players think. We actually heard that, you know, the coaches can listen in now, so there's a bit more instruction already given onto how to correct the wrongs and make them all right going into Game 2. This is where TSM tries to step back up. Gangplank, Twisted Fate taken out already. They don't like the map pressure of either of those. It's not even one or two. It's the combo.
Me and Jabbo just started chuckling and smiling because it's
quick
kind of
adjustment.
The obvious, like, quick reaction is like, ban out everything that just beat us.
So then this is Morgana,
but,
right? This
you
is
know,
Morgana.
if that's actually, you know, the two strong, like, really global influences that were really the problem for TSM and were, you know, allowing Cloud9 to make all these cross-map plays, then they target those two right off the bat. They're going to leave the Nidalee up as they talked about on the desk and try and maybe snag a first pick.
Yeah.
Cloud9 happy to call that bluff and say we'll just trade you then. Cloud9 probably will just go with the Kindred once again for Rush.
Yeah, it's got to feel good having that result on a champion and then just being able to roll back into it. That'll feel very comfortable for him. We know that is a comfort pick as of last game. Cloud9 to answer back. A team that doesn't really show. The Nidalee actually hasn't been locked in, but we see Cloud9. One to take their time on their picks. One to never hover, never show, and try to really kind of play that mind game. along with the rest of their flexing.
Yeah, meanwhile, still a little bit of indecisiveness there for TSM, hovering Nidalee for about 25 seconds before locking it in. It's a really minor thing, but we do like to pick on it often because it gives Cloud9 so much more time.
Right.
And sensing that hesitation, Cloud9 quickly goes, Braum Kindred, back at you, TSM.
Yeah, reducing the amount of time that TSM have to discuss with each other and figure out what they want to go with. Cloud9, very clear game plan here. Go right back to the Braum there for high and pick that Kindred up for rush. He's happy to farm it out. We'll see, though. Svenskeren on the Nidalee. He is set up to try and make some early moves.
Yeah.
See if they pick some strong lanes. Whenever you have this, you definitely want to pick strong lanes with Nidalee. Try and get in there. Maybe they will look to invade on rush and try and attack him.
I'd definitely be interested to see that. He's the guy that puts his foot forward, so it's definitely on Hauntzer to step up.
Yeah, and very little has been revealed by Cloud9, so TSM
As always.
would also just want to either do flex picks or power picks here. They didn't have great success going with the early Azir last time, so we'll see if they end up going for it again. And they're now allowing Cloud9, if they do these two picks, to counter pick both solo lanes freely.
Double, especially last game, it was a blind pick Azir, now another blind pick Azir. The confidence for Bjergsen here.
These are
allowing Cloud9 to just set up around it.
I mean, while they are, again, blind picking Azir, these are two of the most picked champions across the world.
That's true.
In the
That's
current
true.
meta right
Maokai
now.
really
Maokai
been
with
surging.
the recent buffs. Now he's got magic resist. It's actually a huge change. The other thing that Maokai does provide now, the huge increase on duration timers for the saplings, does give you a significant amount more of vision because they last almost a minute. That's half of a trinket ward.
Yeah, and they're most picked for a reason. They work against a lot of different matchups. One strategy you do for blue side is you just straight up do power picks, and then the red side could be used to try and pick counters. And TSM very clearly just going with the high priority, high presence pick ban champions with their first three choices.
Nautilus being locked in. That's too much play of that coming from Cloud9, even on the second half of this split. You're not going to be seeing that. Very interesting.
If they run it in the top lane, it will be yet another unique champion for Balls in the spring. He already had the largest top lane champion pool with 11 unique picks in 18 games. This will make it 12 in 20.
Now I'm looking at what Jensen would want to run into this Azir. Maybe the Zed. I know he doesn't really like Lissandra mid, so I don't know. I don't know if they, again, try a double teleport. Maybe he has put in a lot more time on that champion, though, and they try and pull another, global game plan here and go with a double teleport. But I think it would be more along the lines of something to assassinate Bjergsen. I think he would like to pressure him that way.
Yeah, you look at their team right now. They do have the Nautilus top lane, but they have a lot of physical damage, so you wouldn't think of a Zed, even though Zed would normally be your assassin counterpick to an Azir. He's had a lot of success on Orianna.
LB could be there. Yep.
Yeah, versus Maokai, you cannot afford to have a single damage type. You have to diversify your damage profile for your team conquer, because if you allow Maokai to build straight tank, whoa, okay. So, well, the other thing is that Kindred does do magic damage that sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
They're gonna still have to roll over this though, because Maokai being allowed to build full armor tank is very scary.
Here's the thing that I think Cloud9 is doing. They won last game in 25 minutes. So even though Hauntzer could
How
build,
much armor can you buy in 20 minutes, buddy?
You can't buy that much armor in 20 minutes, really. And also, Bjergsen doesn't like to itemize armor, neither does the Nidalee. There's a lot of things that will not be able to deal with the triple physical damage of Cloud9 very early in the game. And they're going to just have to work around Hauntzer's Maokai, because that guy, if the game goes 45 minutes, will pretty much be unkillable.
The thing is, it's so hard to work around a Maokai into an Azir, into a Janna. Like, there's a lot of peeling for the backline. So if your game plan is to work around that Maokai, then you get to the two new stops of the Soldier Wall and Monsoon from Janna. It's hard to even get back there and assassinate him.
And bringing back a Maokai, it's like riding a bike. It's not exactly a highly mechanical champion to use. You might get a few max range twisted advances, but you're good to go. You got the Yellow Star for Janna, the tried and true of his old past. So these guys are definitely going back to a little bit of comfort, but still have a great comp. And again, coming through with a few blind pick things, feeling very confident in this best of series against Cloud9, who are now ahead one game. As the teams load in for round 2, keep updating those Twitter votes. Por favor, hashtag TSM win or hashtag C9 win. We'll get those tallied up once again as we get partially through the game. Like I said, maybe after the Mastery Keystones. Who knows? It's going to be a good game, and we'll probably be focused on that anyways. We're jumping onto the Rift for game 2. Now it's going to be TSM on the blue side and Cloud9 on the red side. We are on the Rift.
And the other thing about choosing Zed as your assassin, while he's not going to take teleport, you do have the option of turning into a split pusher and trying to, again, draw TSM apart. You want to pull this TSM team apart because their battle lines are really strong. If they group up as a team and they have set Maokai front, you know, backline and back, Jenna protecting them, then it's hard to crack through that 5-on-5. But Cloud9's strategy is not to crack through the 5-on-5, it's to pull you apart across the map and pick you off.
Exactly, and TSM's going to have to be very organized, decisive, and clean if they want to be able to force Cloud9 into team fights and shut down the split pushing opportunities. So while this isn't as punishing of a team composition for Cloud9, they don't have the Twisted Fate and Gangplank to punish overchases as heavily. They're still going to be able to attack from multiple different angles, and TSM would still have to do what they haven't been able to do in order to win this game.
So Cloud9, differences this game, obviously not Twisted Fate mid, but also no teleport there. Kill pressure coming in from Jensen, and instead of the cleanse this time, Bjergsen wants to shut that down with exhaust, rightfully so. A lot of targets that could instantly pop him down. It looks like we may actually get that swap start here.
Yep, everybody got the exact same wards down. Pretty standard vision setting up the standard lane swap, and Svenskeren also gets down the traps.
And I have to say, this needs to be Svenskeren's time to shine. They first picked in Italy, and then they power pick both their solo lanes, because sometimes the conventional wisdom with Italy is she has so much pressure early game that you can get away with whatever lanes you want, because the other team tries to get aggressive lanes, they immediately get punished by Nidalee.
And that's what TSM need to do. They need to get through the early game to where Maokai's got his armor, they can set up their 5-on-5, and you're fighting over these neutral objectives where the TSM, as a group of 5, could just try and bully Cloud9 out. Hanser sneaking some experience in that brush. Dangerous move, we've seen it before. Does pay off here a little bit.
I was kind of hoping to see him stay there for as long as possible.
Impact special back from last year.
Yep. Trying to get that level 3. No deals. It's going to be Cloud9, 3 members on the top turret first. And that turret is nowhere near being reached in the bot lane just yet. A very slow push here by TSM onto that turret.
Yeah, I actually really wish TSM would try and get a little bit more bold early game and get some defensive wards down so they could predict some of Cloud9's lane swaps a little bit better. Because I think Cloud9 absolutely wants the lane swap game. It creates a more open map, and that's where they're able to punish TSM. I think TSM's strengths would be in the standard lanes, so they can utilize Bjergsen's double lift's ability to get CS advantages over their opponents early. They just can't do that with these lane swaps.
That's 2 of the highest CSD at 10 coming in from Bjergsen and double lift. Something we figured coming in for this team, that they would still require a bit of resources, and the team's actually been able to allocate that. It's just getting it to a point where they get their core items and fight before the other team has been an issue lately.
Yeah, I mean, when Jensen first came over here, one of the first things that he was actually criticized for was his ability to just CS in lane
that's true.
in regular matchups for people. But look at him now. He's 5 CS up on Bjergsen, doing just fine with the minion wave right on his side of the map. He can play safe as well, doesn't have to cheat to one side here, doesn't have to really worry about the giant collapse that can happen in lane swap games if the other team gets really risky.
Definitely coming to his own, kind of knowing his brand, knowing what kind of a player he is. It changed from Incarnation solo queue to LCS stage for sure. There were a lot of plays being made, and it took a while for him to build back up to that, being able to have that confidence to make solo plays. It's definitely a different stage when the criticism is coming from every angle. But he seems to shielded it off and has been doing very well this split. There's another reason Cloud9 is back on top.
Yeah, and something kind of strange is happening here. TSM used all of their trinket wards into the blue side jungle of C9, and they saw Rush do that. It's not necessarily how many wards you place, it's what you do with that information. Cloud9 put 1 ward deep in the lane where Hanser is now walking up, and it's expired. So they really haven't done anything with that. But as soon as Svenskeren saw that Rush is on the other side of the map, you expect him to go kill Balls' Nautilus instant he pushes up. But he's killing Gromp right now. Like, I hope he goes for him soon, because this play has been a long time in the making.
And they do have
They know that
they
the
can
jungler's not
interrupt
there.
Balls' teleport if Balls just tries to teleport out as well. Hanser can save his smash.
He knows this is the fight. He's got to be baited in on this one. This is going to be first blood. Balls will be going down. It's going to take him a while, and the team's going to do what they can to add a bit more pressure. He almost takes out Hanser in the process. That's first blood, but with knowledge of the jungler top lane, they're going to go on to double lift, and that's going to be the assist and kills going over here to 3 members. Yellowstar is going to make it out alive with a nice Howling Gale, but it looks like they will lose that turret as well.
Yeah, once again, it's about what you do with the information. Rush walks into a jungle that he knows is warded. Essentially, Balls puts him in position to be ganked. I don't like how far Balls was playing up because that was a pretty obvious gank from Svenskeren. But then as soon as the gank was revealed, C9 boldly goes for a 3v2 dive, not dissuaded by the failed 5v3 dive they had last game, pulls off a kill onto Doublelift, and the denial on Doublelift will be greater than the denial on Balls as long as Svenskeren can't turn this one around, but he's trying. Yeah,
both kills did go to the junglers. Here we go. Spear lands.
Hit him with it. Cannot get the swipe down. Rush makes it out. There's the TP. Haunter's going to not have the lockdown. He stopped it. Good call on that. Balls as well. Stops his teleport.
Yeah, Balls is going to need to head up to the top side because there's a pretty big wave that Haunter's got building up here on the Maokai that's about to crash in there. And neither of them have teleport, so somebody should go up and catch that.
This is what we said Haunter, or rather Svenskeren, sorry, needs to be doing. Adding that pressure. This is the time to shine. You got the Nidalee first pick. You got to produce results. Sneaky being sneaky.
Yeah.
And it looks like they do not like the pressure TSM is trying to put into the jungle. Who gets themselves in a sticky situation here, though? And it looks like they are going to have to back out. Cloud9, that is.
Balls is going to lose a couple of CS up at that top turret as well because he stayed mid with Jensen trying to pressure into the mid turret. They didn't get much mid turret damage. Oh, cannon minion. That's
He lost a cannon. He actually catches a lot of the wave. I'm with Kobe, though. That was a very strange play by Balls. I don't know what he accomplished by holding pressure against Bjergsen in the turret with Jensen, unless they were going to send Jensen to collapse on Svenskeren in the jungle, which also didn't happen. So,
yeah.
so far, the early pressure of Nidalee is outpacing Rush a little bit. They managed to trade ganks, but then Svenskeren was able to get in to the enemy jungle quickly after that. It's very minor, though.
Definitely a lighter 6, level 6, I should say, for this game. We're not seeing half as much teleporting or roaming around the map from Cloud9. It's much more confined to the lanes this time. Yellowstar, however, will be getting a bit of a roam on with Doublelift. They'll just get knowledge pretty much of where the jungle is.
So, one other thing that we kind of touched on is, okay, so obviously Maokai is going to want to build a lot of armor versus team comp because for the team fight you get a lot of value out of that. But one of the things about all these top lane matchups that we're seeing so often with all these tanks is how strong the cowl is, Spectral Cowl in these matchups, because a lot of the damage from the actual tanks and trading in lane is magic damage, and you proc that regeneration over and over on that when you're in tank fights, and that's one of the reasons why we see the quote-unquote wet noodle fights so often, where they don't get a lot of work done. But Haunter's probably not going to want to go for that because for the team fight, it makes so much more sense to go full armor. So Balls actually might be able to make something happen in a 1 versus 1 if he goes Cowl and Haunter does not.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely less than in previous patches because there's a couple things that happened that were pretty crucial.
Very true.
The damage on the E from Nautilus was greatly reduced, as well as the MR per level being on Haunter. So I actually don't think he'll need it on Maokai based on the base sustain.
Is that it?
Burning.
Flash is out.
Flash hasn't stopped Deathmark, but it does get him out of range of a potential shadow kill.
The shadow is there.
Going to go for it.
Hiding under his wall. So Jensen actually goes hard, gets the ult out of mid lane. Not the exhaust, though, just the flash, so it could be a repeat. Svenskeren trying to push now
Bjergsen
Rush out of his jungle.
Also held onto his exhaust throughout that as well. So he does still have that at least.
Feels that it's safe. Well, I guess the damage was already done. Knew he wouldn't die to the death mark without the swirly over his head. Cloud9 getting a few, not even early wards, but deep wards. Just one there on the invade as they go in to try and deny some jungle. Rush towards the top. More denial on that side. And it's much more of an even game here as we start this one off.
Yeah, Svenskeren has been the one to push the tempo here. And with a deep ward onto Rush and mid lane advantage with the Azir being able to come over, this could
be an easy steal for him.
Yeah. But does he get more? Because Azir's here.
Oh, wow. TSM really working a few steps ahead here, thinking of the play before it really needs to happen, and I don't think this can even be closed down by Cloud9. That death mark is still down, so they're just using the regular abilities on this one. Svenskeren back in. Depth charge forces him out, and Yellowstar is trying to help him over the wall. Haunter gets a kill with Vengeful Maelstrom as he throws down the ultimate, and it looks like forced to back out with a few kills on either side.
Sneaky does get red buff for that, but he had to flash for it on Lucian. And again, TSM very happy to go for these trades back and forth in the early game here. They're setting themselves up for the strong mid-game team fight. Towers still standing on the opposite side. They had only traded the first ones in the lane swap instead of going and trading second ones this time, not allowing that extra room for Cloud9 to work with.
And when this started, Rush was trying to get this red buff, but Sneaky had just recalled on Lucian, so the whole time this fight was happening, Doublelift was getting free time in the bottom lane. And you can see how much faster Bjergsen was to that because Jensen was also coming up from the lane. And then Cloud9 tried to turn this around, but they're just so far behind on this play. Haunter is here before Ball. Bjergsen was there before Jensen. Lucian comes in at the very end, and now they're going for Jensen.
Oh, Fate's call, and that could be it. He flashes as well, but the Rend and a bit of extra damage take him down.
The roam from Doublelift Yellowstar to gank mid lane here, leaving their bottom lane. That does mean that Cloud9 can pressure bottom lane, but it's an even exchange. Mid lane's wide open as well, and TSM got the kill, so.
Yeah, I think it's a huge continuation of the play because Doublelift had shoved that bottom lane up so far that he was able to go missing without necessarily being detected, and the fact that Cloud9 has almost no wards on the map currently. But when they see someone, they respawn elsewhere, and they do get a turret, which gold-wise makes the trade beneficial. Until it gets traded for the top trade, in which case it's still a kill. It's the continuation of the play.
No worry, I wasn't going to say anything. All right, Haunter claims the top one, gold for himself as well. They want more money onto this Maokai. He's already got 1 kill, assist, and the extra solo tower gold there, so he'll be ramping up. Pretty much all that money is going to go into his Sunfire and some extra armor. The clock is ticking here for Cloud9. Some extra little bit of Devour damage, though. That's 5 more on-hit magic damage.
Yeah, he has 2 stacks of his Kindred passive as well, which isn't bad for 12 minutes, but they are not looking nearly as good as they did in Game 1, and TSM has cleaned up a lot of the stuff we talked about. They have Sven Skaren on a jungler who is in a much better matchup, and we said this game was going to be on Sven. So far, he's been doing very well with the pressure advantage and making Cloud9 pay for it.
He's just being everywhere right now in Jensen's hair, giving him trouble. And we kind of see this Bjergsen pick, the blind Azir, not being as big as a burden as it was last game. He's able to just stay in the mid lane. It's Doublelift that's trying to get fed here. Can be protected by an Azir no matter what late game. And Yellowstar's been on that roam too. We're seeing this, what TSM really wanted to put together.
And Bjergsen is actually rushing with the Zhonya's, so definitely gonna take a hit on DPS, but he'll be so much more safe. Unlike Kai, who's pretty much dead here in enemy territory.
Yeah, this is one of those
how long can you run for?
One of those secret missions gone horribly wrong, where they see you right as you walk in.
Oh, fancy.
Someone betrayed him. They gave him up.
So top lane push. Let's clean up in the mid lane. Doesn't look like Balls will get too much off of this one. But a whole bunch of follow me from high tries to waste the time of TSM. 23,000 to 20.5 right now. Cloud9 actually falling behind at this point. We saw the stats last game, and TSM has been able to kind of flop that at 15-minute stat into their favor.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very big lead.
Very happy to now move control into both Riverside, I think. Rush is actually making a move towards this mark. I don't think he's that crazy to risk going for it. Just cleaned up some scraps in his jungle. But TSM trying to work their way over here. They need to continue to move as 5, hold on to the advantage that they have, their power, try and pressure Cloud9 and force them to miss out on some CS. There goes that mark.
Right into the Rift Scuttler. This has been quite clean from TSM, which you would not have expected after seeing the way they lost Game 1.
Caster curse.
Yeah. Clean reset of the Rift.
We're beneficial to TSM, chat, in our caster cursing.
Apparently, I haven't double checked the stats myself, but 7 and 4 when I cast TSM games.
Okay, fair enough.
This split.
TSM right now doing much better this game. Actually, stark difference. It kind of looks like the other game with names switched. We're seeing the same results here for TSM that Cloud9 was having, and they're not letting go. When they get the lead, usually we actually see TSM work those advantages. Haunter can usually provide enough of a nuisance on the side lane for the rest, or the other 4, to make the big advantages for it.
I know Haunter likes playing 1v1 champions, likes killing his opponent and taking those fights, but he's going to feel like a god in this game. He's already got Sunfire completed.
I actually feel like he's
going to turn that into probably a Randuin's on top of it with this extra giant spell.
Yeah.
And it will be really hard for Cloud9 to take him down. We'll see, though. Maybe some Cloud9 hold out until they get Whispers.
He's got decent mechanics in those fights. When you see him on a tanky Poppy and he can keep shoving, pushing, he's making right decisions. So he's on the Maokai, he's arcane or smashing and twisted advancing the right targets as well. It's good to have him in there for a long period of time. That's right.
That's the new Pentakill album.
Yep, smashing and advancing. Got it.
And they're just going to continue to try and punish Cloud9 for picking up farm. This is kind of a reversal of what we saw last game.
My boy.
Mr. Flash away.
Yikes. A lot of defensive being used.
Think about the Maokai build. I feel like that Giants build should sit, and you should go for Frozen Heart next against the multiple auto attackers.
Yeah, cooldown reduction is also incredibly good on Maokai, so overall Frozen Heart's just hugely efficient for him.
His flash is
also
up.
Sneak is going to take a long time to get crit, so I agree.
That twisted advanced flash play. See the back line. There's not much other than balls and high here that have to stick to those squishy targets. Jensen's going to be going in. Rush will be looking to use his ult. It'll be interesting to see how Cloud9 plays these fights. TSM, not so much backing up, but getting themselves full vision right across the outside of C9's base makes it so easy to go from lane to lane.
Yeah, they don't have to force any crazy occurrences in this game. They don't want, unexpected things to happen.
Yeah.
When you are so confident in your team comp from draft phase, you just want to get to those late game team fights where you've built your items, you can play the strengths there, have Maokai on the front line. Bjergsen's got his Zhonya's completed. Doublelift has plenty of protection as long as he stands close to Yellow Star or Bjergsen. They both have ways to try and save him. I mean, even as Zed, who's really good at getting to the back line, through all of this, like Maokai just point and clicks on you once, and
you're trapped.
You're bopped.
Yeah. The only worry I'd see for Cloud9 here is they've had trouble closing out games in the last little bit.
You could say that.
Whereas Cloud9 has been very good at closing out games. So when Cloud9 had the big advantage in game 1, they closed the game out by 25 minutes. Whereas TSM's had this 3,000 gold lead for about the past 5 minutes, and it's still 3,000 gold.
I mean, yeah, it is a double-edged sword, being confident in your team comp and safe and, relying on scaling. Whereas I feel like a lot of the games where TSM have actually lost with these early gold leads, thrown the games, have been in mistakes, like just mechanical mistakes within the team fights in the late game. Sometimes they get pulled across the map going for one objective, and then someone's not there on time for a team fight, yet they start the team fight anyway. So they will have to keep together, strengthen numbers.
Yep. Although I have to also say, Cloud9's not the type of team that lets themselves get bled out. At some point in this game, like, this would normally be if this was a TSM versus not Cloud9. I would think it's like a 50-minute game that we're about to have because TSM is behind on Dragons. Their gold lead's only about 3,000, but they have a lot of map control.
What about Immortals?
So they'd wait
They're
for
not
about 5. Yeah. Anyone who's not Cloud9 or Immortals, this game would be like 50 minutes long in the North American LCS. But this one I feel like would trend to be shorter because as TSM is going to be approaching those 3, 4, and 5 Dragons, I think Cloud9 is going to be trying to make some aggressive plays and force TSM into a mistake. Yeah,
that's what you expect from them if you're looking historically at these players. High's the one who has those highlight plays where even if Cloud9 lose at the end, High's trying to make those secret missions work and sneaking to the back line, try and backdoor even when they're down 10,000 gold.
So far, those plays this game have kind of ended in High dying by himself. They haven't been able to get too much, so they've been calling off those and have so far been waiting for TSM to make a move. You were just saying that gold lead is sticking just around 3,000. There's not much they can do. Come at 4,000 now as they've been farming these waves out. Top lane is going to be pushing, but TSM is in no position to really utilize any of these. Rift Herald for now. We'll see who gets that. Probably Svenskeren to keep these moving.
They're going to continue to try and control the jungle as much as possible and just get farm on their main carries.
Another big thing that's coming up for TSM is Baron, because that has so much more pull than the other neutral objectives on the map right now. And even sieging up is like a little bit risky, but TSM can just control vision across Baron side. Rush. I mean, we can take a break here and just watch this escape of Rush or attempted escape.
His mark spawned in TSM's jungle, so he went for it.
There it is. Push him
That's
out.
the displacement right there.
But yeah, earlier when I was saying I didn't think Rush would be crazy enough to go for the scuttle in the river, he actually went for the one.
He's going to go for the TSM's jungle. That's going to hurt, because now they have to defend this potentially 4v5 if Haunter teleports in.
That's another reason why you don't expect Cloud9 games to be Cloud9 getting bled out. They get bored pretty quickly and just go for stuff like that.
Oh, they're doing Rift Herald. Maybe I can just take this Raptor camp over here.
Oh, wait.
The worst part is his smite triggered the ward that he was on, and he knew he was dead.
He just didn't see it coming. He used too much to get out. He did use his flash. He actually thought he could make it out in the end. Unfortunately, did not. And we see Team Solo Mid working this game much, much better. It was actually quite worrying to see how fast Game 1 went in favor of Cloud9. Obviously not for Cloud9 fans, but for TSM to kind of right the wrongs this fast. A first pick, Nidalee from Svenskeren, who's actually been having trouble himself this season, showing quite strong here in the quarterfinals. It's definitely been helpful, but when does TSM crack the next barrier? They seem to have been stopped here by Cloud9 after all of that.
And that's why sometimes I actually really do like the knee-jerk reaction champ select, where you just ban everything that just beat you. Because through Cloud9 draft this time around, completely one-sided here, full physical damage, and TSM can now take a breath after that first game, because they got beaten very quickly. This game is going to do a lot to reset their mentality. You know, if you can go even it up like this in a 1v1 where you feel like you had control the entire time and you felt confident for the last 20-plus minutes, then TSM are going to be very, very, you know, in a much better mental state to go into Game 3 and continue this series.
Total reset, for sure.
And you get the flip side from C9, right? You just won that game, and now this is happening. I was saying that Rush gets Kindred again. He's flowing into that champion after a great pick, and now he's not having the same game. Little mind things here and there, but at this level, I'm sure they're trying to brush them off as soon as possible and focus on what is necessary. Core items on the side. Nasher's finished along with that. Zanya's now. The Rod of Ages still building up there for Svenskeren.
Going for it.
Haunter, there's that Frozen Heart. Just finished it up.
He's going for that next mark.
Sat on it. Nope.
He's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, he's going to get it.
Suckers.
That pesky little Kindred. That's 4.
Yeah, Cloud9 are in that let's farm for late mode, because they just want to get to actually max items. By the end of the game, when everyone has 6 items and everyone's got their Last Whispers and armor penetrations, then it comes down to more about picking people off and being out of position for those team fights or big Baron steals and big plays. Cloud9 are more banking on big plays now than a standard mid-game team fight here where that TSM are.
Yeah, they're hoping for that 35-minute team fight where death timers are the largest difference from this season to last season, because if you lose a team fight 5 for 0, 4 for 1, 35 minutes, you can potentially win the game clean off of that one team fight.
The other thing that you can always hope for is catching a straggler here. Maybe TSM get lazy while they're going for the stranglehold on the map, and they're spreading out trying to grab the gold on all areas of the map.
Wow.
Somebody's out of position, maybe you can pick them off and snag something that way. This time, though, it's actually Jensen who's going to have to pop Ghostblade, because top lane is coming down as well. The duo's coming.
Wow.
Doesn't quite cut them off, but they get a significant amount of damage.
Yeah, the Callisto.
He's got itchy trigger finger there with the face.
Could have used that to potentially bait Baron with the vision control they have, especially with Callisto on the team 24 minutes in. That is the next natural move for them, but they're playing it real slow. Dragon is live. That's where Svenskeren is directing his attention to.
Yeah. Really great game from him. Every second he can, he's been trying to give Rush trouble. Just at the Gromp more than once. They were able to take the blue, which he is wearing right now from Cloud9. They will get theirs on Bjergsen, and TSM is definitely playing a game that's going to make Cloud9 think twice here about what they can bring into the next game. Doublelift playing very strong this one, as well as Yellow Star. They started things off early along with Svenskeren's roam. Since then, Cloud9 has not been able to repair.
Yeah, you can't really repair. Just try and get more gold. Oh, there's that pick I was talking about. Maybe they find a straggler. A lot of damage in return, though, so probably have to retreat after that. But any little bit of gold is good because it gets you closer to some armor penetration items. I think that Jensen's going to turn this Phage into Black Cleaver, actually, to try and shred for the whole team. get off some of those AoE Z swipes in the middle there. Any extra armor shred does help the squad. Right now, though, Hanser's in his god mode. Got full armor with Frozen Heart, Sunfire, and Ninja Tabi.
Yep.
And aside from that little whoopsie from Yellowstar, the rest of the TSM team is building very defensively very early on. Already, Rylai's coming through as the next item for Bjergsen on top of the Zhonya's, but...
Oh boy, that's Sven Skaren. He
buddy.
seems to be still alive. Lambs Spike goes down. Rush should be able to waltz out of this one. One last hit. Will not burn him down. He is fine there. It looks like Bjergsen actually is going to go down in this situation. The calling goes backwards. He flashes out. Sven Skaren goes down, however. Bjergsen's used both. Fate's Call comes in with the flash forward. And here's Ball Snout to go down. What is happening in this fight? A double kill for Hanser. 9-4, 26 minutes in. TSM just wipes down Cloud9.
Where you're not supposed to recall.
That's
Back
what
to
you
team
get
fight.
for living on the edge like that. Sometimes you fall off the edge.
Oh dear, that's
Hanser
going to
gets
be...
in there for the smash.
Looks like it's going to be the Baron for TSM. I mean, that was kind of Cloud9 trying to take the game to TSM a little bit. They thought they'd see the fight. They got Bjergsen very low. They killed Sven Skaren. But they also were very low. And instead of just running away, they allow Hanser to flash double kill him.
Yeah, TSM are happy to even sacrifice someone's life if it means that it'll force a team fight. Because they can just outstat Cloud9 so hard with Cloud9 being all armor. And anyway, look at this DPS from Bjergsen. Now, Rush wants to stay there for the heal, and then has to flash out at the end as both teleports come in. Bjergsen with his early zone is completed as well that we talked about.
And then he flashes right afterwards so the culling can't close him. And Rush is thinking he's going to get a recall here. But Hanser,
High is actually the one.
Reaction time
High
here.
is the reason that he died. Hanser never even saw
2 for 1.
Rush.
2 for 1 special.
High is actually the one that just killed Rush.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud. Team captain.
Team captain, don't recall here. It's dangerous.
Dang.
But I would have gotten away with it if you didn't. No, just don't recall there.
You lured Hanser over.
Big time control for TSM though now. 304 on the Azir. The unstoppable Hanser, who also has a QSS here, just in case Jensen tried to Black Cleaver 1v1 him. QSS that death mark away real quick. But Cloud9 again going for a fight because they see Maokai and Nidalee off to the side.
Oh, that's an interesting,
They got him.
interesting call. Fate's Call on the depth charge, but they're still going to be in the same spot as you group together on that situation. And Cloud9 actually being pushed back here. Sven Skaren, solo front line on this guy until Hanser and Bjergsen get the soldiers up there, and they are still going hard on this. Nobody can even break Hanser right now. Bjergsen's running out of mana. This is going to be a tough fight to continue. Ball's now in range for all three, and they are just separating, picking and choosing, and surgically removing Cloud9 from the map.
That's how strong it is to have this full armor Maokai versus this C9 squad. They got demolished without Hanser even being there, but once he got there, even though they were outnumbered, they still turn it around.
Yeah, all carries were alive for Cloud9, and Hanser just did not care, walked straight into him.
Oh, that is good
Cloud9's
calling.
relenting though, oh dear.
How you know when you've stayed too long?
Oh dear.
Usually when you're dead.
Sneaky.
Usually when you're
Oh, wait a minute, I got him!
Oh, he got him! You gotta be kidding me! Hanser flaunting the skills
Maokai.
and goes down valiantly.
Tanky Maokai,
Hey, we still got
bud.
some more action here, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that just his kills, or was that just the 2 kills shut down? Still, he gets good gold out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Hanser is a beast. 4, 1, and 5. First death, picks up his Thorn Mail on top of the Quicksilver, and
Yeah,
still
that'll
hanging on
do
that
it.
Giant's belt. He knows what he needs, just stats.
All right, so we're going to start at the very beginning of this one. Depth charge, Yellowstar
That was weird.
probably should have thrown himself backwards. He ends up dying. But at the same time, now the team fight crew is here. Sven Skaren,
The team fight crew is Hanser.
I think it's Hanser and Bjergsen,
I
right?
mean, Bjergsen's
Front
the
line,
DPS, of course,
best
but-
tank for the situation and best backline damage for the situation in Maokai and Azir.
Also, we didn't even point out that Sven Skaren escaped there. That was ridiculous how he was able to hop back out after the Zhonyas of his own. But yeah, there it is. Hanser finally gets to fight.
Yep. Fantastic. So helpful now that the ult follows Maokai. Your damage reduction goes with you.
Level 16 himself.
Oh, wow, yeah, 2 levels over Balls now. Distortion boots as well, looking to make even more plays. The rest of the team, Haunter 16 to Jensen's, so they're getting that full damage out of their ultimates now. That gold lead, by the way, growing finally for Team Solo Mid. They found a way to break down the walls of Cloud9. It was phase first.
And the biggest thing for TSM now is that Haunter's teleport is up. So he'll be there even quicker if there is a team fight that breaks out. If Haunter's teleport is up, TSM can feel so much more secure.
They're also going to have a banner buddy somewhere. I don't think they've used it just yet, but 2 Zanyas, the banner in another lane. A lot of things on the plate now for Cloud9 to think about during these fights. Jensen kind of fronts, puts himself up front there. Glacial Fisher goes out, but it's not where the team really gets stopped. TSM can free fight this and kite it backwards. The health bars are not looking good for Team Solo Mid as Cloud9 engages once again. Rush dead on the outside there, high, about to go down. And now C9 has to turn tail and start to run towards the base. Haunter now with the initiation. He goes in and Svenskaren's more than happy to be his bash buddy. They're now onto balls. They're going to take him down. The turret will follow shortly after. I don't think Jensen wants to stand too close to the explosion.
The same thing. Cloud9 can all in before Haunter's there and burst down double if they do it a second time here, but the teleport is up, he gets there in time, and they're able to clean up. Again, TSM are very happy to sacrifice someone, literally anyone on the team, if it means that it's going to force a team fight with Haunter in the middle. Like, as long as Bjergsen or Doublelift stays up and there's some DPS on the back line behind Haunter's tanking, TSM are happy to take that.
Yeah, it's just so hard for Zed to team fight against this team that TSM's put together.
I mean, Bjergsen is 616 on Azir with Azonias. Like, he puts out so much DPS throughout a team fight, and plus he has the added safety of the active.
Yeah, I mean, this Cloud9 was just trying to take advantage of the channel time of teleport. So they had 4 or 5 seconds without Haunter in the fight, but they were not able to clean enough of the damage dealers. They did kill Doublelift, but Bjergsen still at the back of the fight with half health. And like, once Haunter is here, Jensen can't get close to him because that would just open him up to getting killed by Azir, and Haunter can literally just walk into the turret and the rest of Cloud9. So very easy for them to...
And he'll back up the full while he's taking turret damage. Like, he had less life before he was tanking the turret than he had after he was tanking the turret because of the passive heal on the auto.
I mean, it's another one of those reasons you pick Maokai with Azir, because what you'd want from Cloud9 is like a last pick against a Maokai. We want the highest damage possible magic damage mage. Oh, it's Azir. But TSM already had him in the draft phase, so Cloud9 had gone for the very early 25-minute snowball game, and they fell behind early, and now they have to play desperately.
Yeah, I mean, it was no secret. TSM are drafting at the strongest team fight comp that they can get. Yeah. And they got that. The quintessential straight. Yeah, exactly.
And specifically, they first picked the earliest game jungler to buy them time to reach this team fight phase. And Svenskeren did a very good job shutting down Rush to make sure the Cloud9 lanes couldn't get ahead. But they still haven't won the game. They're very close, though, with 2 inhibitors down.
Very convincing at that. They have not struggled at all getting through this game, maybe for a minute, but still found a way through. It was Haunter being gigantic, and he still is. Able to make plays whenever they want right now. Really just kind of have Cloud9 on the end of a thread, waiting to tug on it. Over towards Baron. Looks like they're actually going to pull on that string right now. They'll say, let's go. Bring the fight home, right to the Baron pit.
Azir kills it so fast. Kalista also secures it. It's the safest Baron rush you'll see. And
there it is. Is it the follow-up, though, onto high? He's the first one. It's fine for Haunter to be up front. Jensen going very, very low as he tries to 4v1.
Whoa, they got
Nobody
Haunter.
can get past the wall.
Hey.
Very interesting. Nice play, but Cloud9 still kiting this one out. Low HP bars on both sides here. Who's going to be the next finalized kill? There goes Sneaky, and that's going to be high falling as well. As soon as TSM can assess the fight, they get it the way they want it, and now Balls is going to try to flash away from this. TSM down the mid lane.
They killed that Maokai, though.
Yeah, they killed Haunter. It only cost them 4 kills on their
game.
side.
It only cost them the
too
game.
bad. Anyway, TSM, that's exactly what they wanted to do. Force the Baron fight when they're that far ahead. Secure it very quickly. Even if they don't get the Baron, which was high likelihood that they would, they'd still be able to force an engage with the Maokai. And here we go.
What a clean game coming in from Team Solo Mid after a loss in Game 1 to Cloud9. We're all tied up here in the quarterfinals, 1-1, as TSM takes Game 2.
So this is what people were talking about when they said this series was going to be closer than you expected, because we didn't expect the series to be close after Cloud9 crushed the first game. But they swapped back the sides. They very quickly pivoted off their pick and ban strategy. They used the blue side first pick advantage to get Nidalee, and then they also played in a much cleaner fashion.
Rush, why you win first game?
Yeah. That he jinxed himself there.
Jinxed himself.
Why do you say that now?
Well, a very strong play by TSM, and they kind of stuck with their guns in going through picks and bans.
I mean, it's kind of funny, and we're like poking fun at Rush, right? But Rush actually had a bad game. Svenskeren had a really good game.
Absolutely. He did. He played very good.
We did kind of tunnel on, oh, this is a Maokai, and you're putting full AD into it. But Svenskeren actually executed his Nidalee really well.
Yep.
He got the early pressure that you talked about to allow him to scale up, and also the heals that were coming through from him as well in the team fight kind of go unseen. And he played it really well. There were a lot of question marks around him in this matchup, and he performed.
Got a 400 armor Maokai. You throw an AP Nidalee heal on top of him. That's a very effective heal on the guy that they can't kill in the first place. So I do think switching back to having blue side for Cloud9 again will create some interesting situations, because the fact that TSM had the freedom to ban the Twisted Fate and the Gangplank as well as denying the Lee Sin, as well as taking the Nidalee, those four things can't happen again when there's a blue side for Cloud9. And I'm interested to see how they adapt.
Me too. We're all tied up at 1-1. Right now we're going to send it over to the analyst desk to see what Dash and company make of that TSM victory.
Thank you very much, Riv. TSM coming out with a victory, equalizing the series 1-1. Good to see them rebound after a tough loss in Game 1. Talking about how they got there. All AD comp from Cloud9, but the priority picks that TSM put onto their solo laners very early on, drafting the Maokai and the Azir, saying, we don't care about counter picks, we're taking what we think is strong.
Yeah, it was like kind of adapting to what happened in Game 1, where they clearly targeted their bans more, what C9 did, but they stuck to what they wanted to do, which was, you know, a tank top, Azir, and then Kalista. They mostly stayed the same.
Yeah, and it actually worked out as well, because you look at the fact that C9 gave away a first pick Nidalee, and it allowed now the rest of this sort of puzzle to come into place. Like, TSM played the same strategy, but now they've got this Nidalee on Svenskeren, who, to his credit, had a very, very strong game for himself. And even though mid lane was pretty much undisturbed, actually Rush came in and like took some XP by like pathing through the lane and holding Jensen down. Azir won the lane matchup early on, and then withstood all the damage post 6 against Zed. And so he got to be a team fight monster, deal double the damage of anyone else on his team, and Bjergsen just went off on Azir, where he won a lane that's hardish to win and then carried team fights.
Yeah, and I think TSM's pick and ban was really good, because they banned out 2 globals. They immediately changed their strategy and say, we don't want to play against that anymore. We're obviously weak to that. And then they say, okay, well, we're just going to go full team fight, try to group as 5 when we can. And they only ban out Lee Sin as a jungle pick. So they just hit that one on Rush that they know that's really high up there. They'll leave up both Nidalee and Kindred and take their pick of it. So I thought the first pick was a really good strat there from them as well.
I do want to hop into our replay 26 minutes into the game. Mid lane fight was Cloud9's stab at trying to get things back. And when we saw at this point, 26 minutes in, armor was being stacked. Even so, TSM turning this one around.
Yeah, armor was stacking. We're going to see Bjergsen, he's actually just going to be a big man right here. Jensen goes in, immediately actually pushes Jensen away from Svenskeren. The ultimate from Rush comes down, and Bjergsen just buying time at this point. Jensen jumps back in, and Rush goes off to back on the side. But now the TPs are in. Bjergsen puts the turret up mid-combat, and Svenskeren has the courage to come back in. Ends up getting taken out by Sneaky there, but Hauntzer is now causing so much havoc in the middle of the fight. He's able to lock up balls, and then he flashes and gets 2 there, because he sold him out.
Yeah, oh no, why would you do that to him?
Yeah,
pretty greedy by Rush, too.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in for High. He's like, well, that's the only way I can run. What do you want from me? Don't recall right outside the edge of the fight.
Just teaching him a lesson.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was. It's like, so you won't do it next game. Speaking of which, Cloud9, now after that loss, smiles on their faces, though. So you can, I mean, Jat talked about it on the desk up there earlier, that this is a team, the losses don't bother them in best-of-5 series. They're so confident that they can rebound after any kind of a loss that, I mean, it clearly doesn't seem to be affecting them now. We'll see what kind of strategies they pull out in Game 3. Do you got something you want to throw in?
Yeah, I do want to talk about how Cloud9, we know coming into this that they're the worst team at placing and clearing wards. So far in these 2 games, they have placed 42 less wards than TSM between the 2 games, averaging about 20 less per game. So what TSM did this game is they actually exploited the vision, and we saw them get that lead where Rush is running around, doesn't have adequate vision of actually taking the camp that he wants for his mark, and then they chase him down. And they're putting him in those positions, and I think that that's the edge that TSM has, is just that vision control, because Cloud9 in this game didn't play around the vision that they had, and that's what ended up biting them in the early game.
I want to jump over to Twitter. We're collecting your responses to our players to watch today. And this tweet coming from Galay says, for better or worse, Sven Skjern will have the most impact this series. If he steps up, TSM should be able to win no problem. And you mentioned the vision play. A big beneficiary of that vision play was Sven Skjern, his ability to roam around in the early portions of the game and put pressure on Rush.
Yeah, even though Bjergsen had a more impressive stat line, the fact of the matter is that the early game hinges on Rush carrying, and if Sven can win that jungle matchup, he's going to have a huge impact in this series if he can keep doing this.
Yeah, a lot of it was let's get to that 20-25 minute mark where we have the armor, we have the late game damage now, and a lot of that was resting on Sven's shoulders. Rush not able to do it with the Kindred this time around. So I'm very curious, if anything, to see how the jungle matchup continues to evolve in this game, as we've seen Rush on Kindred twice, and it seems pretty clear to me he's not going to get Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the more important part of this entire game, certainly the junglers can have different impacts and gold leads happen, but it's been more macro-focused. Game 1 was won because TSM took a really terrible team fight and gave map control away. Game 2 is a game where you're just going to get outscaled by the Maokai and Azir, who aren't going to die to you anymore. Lo and behold, that happened once we got into 30-minute team fights. And so if we have a game that these rules get broken by a bunch of really good ganks, then you're going to have that game. And, Rush or Sven can just win the game by being 3-0. But it's been mostly macro-focused so far in these games.
I think TSM has to be careful, just to touch on this really quick, is they had the Maokai splitting at a lot of the start of those fights where he really doesn't get anything from being split. And he was just grouped up at the beginning. Double Lift wouldn't have died at the start of 2 of those team fights right away. So with the focus being on macro moving forward, they have to be a little bit more aware of where they need to allocate their players.
Yeah,
I mean, how else is Maokai supposed to get 5 kills, dude? He's got to TP in and clean up.
Just leave the Callisto
classic.
there.
Thanks, Double Lift. Thanks for putting yourself out there for the betterment of the team. Anyway, keep it dialed right here, because in just 3.5 minutes, we'll follow Cloud9 and TSM back onto the Rift for Game 3 of this quarterfinal series. Stay with us.
Be like Yamato Cannon. Can you do like Yamato Cannon? Just breathe.
Not gonna do that.
Focus on your game.
Sven Skjern back in. Depth charge forces him out. And Yellowstar is trying to help him over the wall. Hanser gets a kill with Vengeful Maelstrom.
Oh, he still has W. He still has W. He has X-Drinker. He might be dead. He has Flash. Nice. Good shit. I'm building tower. I'm Zonius. I'm Zonius.
Right.
I'm gonna flash down. I'm gonna flash down.
after. Your TV.
Kill him.
Your TV.
Come on, Brom. We win this. We win this.
Oh, dear.
Usually when you're dead.
Usually when you're dead. Oh, wait a minute. I got him. Oh, he got him. You gotta be kidding me.
Lucian.
Nice. Keep going. Kindred.
Yeah, I got him.
As TSM takes game 2.